republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Dexter, roll call, please.
Yes, I will. Those present are Mayor Shaw, Council Members Baker, Johnson, Armbruster, Kemp, and McVeigh. Staff present is myself, City Attorney, Public Works Supervisor, City Planner, City Engineer, and Lieutenant Mancias.
Thank you. Look for approval of agenda, please, Council.
Move to approve the agenda.
Okay. There's a motion, a second to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you very much, Council. And now I'd like to ask somebody to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda. October 25, 2022. Claim vouchers 7492 through 7507. And 3 EFTs in the amount of $42,800.46. The October 11th, 2022 meeting minutes. November 8th, 2022 claim vouchers 7515, 7526. And an EFT in the amount of $20,692.10. The October 2022 payroll in the amount of $39,918.54. October 2022 treasurer's report, and these have been audited by the audit committee.
Second. That was a lot, Dennis. Thank you. Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. Thank you, Council. We'll now open it up to public comment. Anybody speaking as a public today and not as a staff? Okay, we'll move on. I would like to open the public hearing on the ad valorem taxes for the 2023 year.
So, doing the worksheet that is sent to me from the assessor's office, we are able to get the max levy again this year, which is 1%, I guess. I don't really understand it, so I just do the worksheet and Linda helps me with it. So we're getting the max that we can get. And so if there's any questions, I can get the answer and get back to you. If there are no questions, we will pass the ordinance like we have in the past, and we send it to the assessor's office, and then voila, we get taxes twice a year.
Do we have any questions? Even though that you'd like Tammy to look into? If we have no questions, then we do need to have a motion to pass it, and then we can move on.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the ad valorem taxes for the 2023 school year. That's our 2023 year. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Yep. So we close the public hearing.
Yes. I have a motion to close the public hearing from somebody, please.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second. There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. Thank you. Now to move on to staff reports. Officer Mancini, you want to? Sure. Lieutenant? What do you prefer?
Ruben.
Ruben, whatever.
I don't have to call you Ruben when you're in the office.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Ruben's fine. No change with the sheriff's office. Obviously, we're still short-handed like crazy. The stats are a little bit lower from the last month because Frank was gone for a couple weeks there. He had knee surgery, so he's back at it and back in the school. So the stats should be increased quite a bit more. You'll see a lot of activity probably throughout the whole county. We're picking up the Dropbox stuff for the ballots. Tonight will be kind of the end of all that security stuff and everything. So that'll be a sigh of relief, I guess you could say, for that part. But that should relieve up some of our resources too for the next couple weeks.
Anything else?
Yep, that's it.
Any questions for Ruben? Okay, thank you, and be safe tonight, and take care of all those ballots.
We will.
Jim?
Yeah, it's been a pretty quiet week, month for planning. We did finish up one of the final plat, the Minnesota short plat. It's the piece of property just on the other side of the corner over there. So we have 2 new lots in town. We've already accepted building permit applications on it, and we're processing those now. The other plats we have still under process is 716 Tipsu. It's a 2-lot short plat. We also have 413 Reflection Lane, it's a 2-lot, and we just took in some civil engineering plans. It's been a while since we talked about 105 Michigan. That is another short plat with multifamily on it. So we just got some plans in for those today and processing those. No other new applications at this time.
Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Adam?
Yeah, with the help of Ron and Charlie, last week we completed the infiltration test for the new sports courts over in the park. As expected, it's excellent, so we have what we need to meet the stormwater requirements for the project. We're also working on some lighting issues. We've begun to consult with PSE on that. Charlie said that the basketball court lighting was lacking, so if anyone has anything to say on that, please let me know. So we hope to have better lighting for these new courts. Continuing data collection on the water system plan. Now that Charlie's back, he's helping Ron, and Tammy continues to help me out. The Myers Street crosswalk, there's a concept layout in your packet tonight. So if you have any comments on that, any feedback, appreciate it. Just let me know. As far as the schedule, our transportation group, they hope to have a 90% design completion by maybe mid-December. So I'm pushing them to stay on track to complete that for you guys by the end of the year, and hopefully go up to bid at the beginning of next year.
Any questions for Adam?
Just I'd like to see more lights on the basketball court, and maybe even an extra outlet over there that's locked, in case there's a need part that we have over there.
Any other questions?
So are we actually getting complaints about the lighting in the basketball court?
It doesn't, if somebody want to go over there on a nice summer night, it's not lit great. And if, I know when, I'm not sure, I gotta look back, I'm gonna talk to Adam, but when I look back at the plans, I'm not sure what John had on there. I know we talked about if you're gonna have lights on a pickleball tennis court, you have to have some decent lights there. So. I heard one or two comments in the last 2 years on nice nights where kids want to be down there and actually playing. So, any other questions for Adam?
I don't know, just a general conversation. The lights that are out there now, are those direct rate to PSE, or is there a meter? You pay a monthly fee for them? Okay.
Any other questions for Adam? Okay, thank you, Adam. Ron? Okay, any questions for Ron? I will speak for Ron tonight. He's not feeling real good. Any questions for Ron? Okay. As you know, in our last meeting, Ron, I think we told you we were going to be short-staffed. And for basically 3 weeks there, Ron was a one-man show as Cordell moved on to his other job and Charlie was still on his paternity leave. A couple wild days there, but Tammy supported Ron and he got through it and he got a lot of things done. There was part of that we thought Will was going to be with us, and then Will ended up getting sick. So it ended up being pretty much 3 weeks that Ron was by himself. So Ron, You did a good job, got done what had to be done, and I know being a supervisor and then being stuck with no maintenance workers, it was tough, but you did a good job, thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
And Charlie did come back, last Tuesday on the first of the month, so they could get all the meter reads done, and between the two of them, they got them all done. All the bills are done on your end, all the rereads and all the notices are out, and so now they're ready to put Charlie to work doing some other projects before the weather really gets bad. Okay, thank you, Ron. Dennis?
I attended the GRPC meeting last Friday. The main business was the additions projects. As usual, they have way more projects than they have money. They'll go through and look at them all now and give them a score and the highest they find it. It's a good project, and too bad we don't have enough money to do them all. That's life.
Okay. Any questions for Dennis? Thank you, Dennis. Ron?
Well, just the TV meeting tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock.
Any questions for Ron?
You
Thank-
guys still meeting in person?
No, we strictly on Zoom only. We were hybrid in August and September, and October they started the hybrid meeting on Zoom.
Same thing, GRPC.
Thank you, Ron. Tom?
Nothing really exciting, just, emergency management is, continuing on, with, this time of year, especially with the flood alerts and that kind of stuff, so, more information I get from them, and I'll pass it on to the council. But other than that, not too bad.
Thank you. Any questions for Tom? Okay, George?
Well, I got a couple of things. First of all, Halloween at the park was a smashing success for anybody that wasn't there. What did we have? Estimate maybe 4,000 people down somewhere in there. Maybe a little less,
Yeah, I think a little less.
but I've never seen as many cars. They were parked all the way from there up into this parking lot. And just for those of you that weren't there, when we started the Halloween parade, we were a little disappointed because there weren't that many kids in it, right? So as they start marching down, all of a sudden the line keeps getting longer behind the parade and all the way around. And that went on for an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours. But we found out what the problem was. The problem was, it wasn't the advertising that we did, it was that these kids were going to other Halloween events, telling everybody how great Rainier's was. That's where all the latecomers were coming from out of town. So it was kind of crazy. The other two things,
Just,
yeah,
I have never seen that many cars. Every parking lot was full. And a double line down by the basketball courts. I mean, it was amazing, just amazing.
so our kids had a good time in town. That's the feedback. And everybody seemed to have a good time, and the parents didn't seem to mind waiting, but we're adjusting for next year on that.
I'm going to piggyback what they both said, because when I went down there, I made a call to a council member who was working and said the same thing about all the parking lots full, did I not?
Oh, yeah.
I talked to Tammy, I called her too, and said that this just shows, as community things get built up, doing the new parking lot is going to be helpful. Like Dennis said, they were parking in this parking lot. I don't know if you didn't mention it, they were parking in Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree parking lot, it was full, which shows why we're going to need that crosswalk.
Yeah, they were parked over in the school too
Yeah.
also.
It was a good, in the lineup of the kids, when I was there, probably at the peak, came all the way out from the gazebo, out to the trail, all the way down past the entire length of the basketball court. You know, that's about 125 yards lineup of kids waiting to go through the cars.
When I went over there, they were lined up from Betts Park
Wow, okay,
solidly, all the way down the trail into Gerber.
okay.
I mean, it was,
It was just
It,
amazing.
it was good. It made me feel good in the seat that I am about the crosswalk is needed because it was dark that night and people were crossing there, and then additional parking and how people could use it. So,
it was so crazy. I ran 3 trips to the senior center to see what candy that we had for the Christmas stockings.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. We were just distributing it to all the people that were there with their, I mean, and I guess they bought Dollar General out too with candy.
it was good.
The only downer in this whole thing is if we're gonna do this, we need to have bathrooms.
Yes, I was just gonna say,
I went over to Dollar General the next day and talked to the manager and thanked her for allowing all those people to go use their bathrooms because there was none provided for that event.
yeah, I had that complaint, a couple complaints from that.
You remember that, I think Tammy and I talked about that. The group needs to be prepared in the future, put it that way. I mean, it's technically not the city's responsibility to have bathrooms. We don't have a bathroom complex down there. So, I just be aware, Tom and all of us, that it wasn't the city's responsibility to have bathrooms down there.
Hopefully next year we will have.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, we would have got a
Move on,
Santa can
George.
if we'd known they weren't gonna be open. That's needed. But the other 2 things I have is, Yelm's got a couple of them that has the speed. The speed limit is 35, you're doing 45. I just didn't know if there were a couple of places in town we might want those, such as Center Street over here where people come racing through. Just throwing it out for the safety of the community if we can afford it. The other thing is, Yelm has a summer reading program for their children. Tenino does. And the people in this community pay taxes for Timberland Library. I would like to see the city send a formal letter to Timberland Library requesting summer reading programs in our city. We got the kids now have to go to Tenino, they have to go to Yelm to get involved in some reading programs, and I don't know why Rainier should be looked over.
We used to have a branch of the Timberland Library.
Yeah.
Over in the old schoolhouse
Yeah.
before the district
It was
office.
not a branch of the Timberland.
Right, no, it was a library.
Well, it was just a,
It was a locally, privately run, but Timberland supported us with computers and shelving, and you could pick up and drop off books there, but it wasn't actually a branch.
so what group did that?
It was just the
Volunteer group.
volunteer group, Friends of the Library.
But I would like,
Kind of like the We Luck, there were kind of about 8 people.
I know it sounds like a minor thing, but I know it would be greatly appreciated by a lot of the parents that have young children in this community. Because virtually there's nothing for them to do right here. So, it's out there for whatever we want to do as a council. I mean, I've been trying, but I don't throw any weight around when I call over there. But they say, yeah, okay, we'll have this one get in touch with you. Nobody ever gets back to me on it. So, that's all I got. And I'm grateful I live in Rainier.
Thank you, George. Any questions for George? Maureen?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Any questions for Maureen? Okay. Bill, besides when we get to new business where you're going to be on the agenda about 5 times in a row, you got anything? Or are you just going to wait until it's your turn?
I can wait until it's my turn, but you asked me to look into level 3 chargers for your new parking lot.
Yep.
And I started to do that, and it's not looking too good because I think they've captured almost all the money for that to be within a mile of the freeway. So
A mile of the freeway. That's, you can't get off the freeway. I mean, wow.
So that's the.
Are you done looking, or are you going to keep?
No, I'm gonna keep looking at some stuff. So
good.
But when I give up, I'll let you know, so you can assign somebody else who knows what they're doing.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Bill?
maybe we can twist that a little bit, Bill,
How
and
much are
say
you
that
gonna go
when the
with?
freeway shuts down,
Not
507 is
Nothing.
the freeway.
that's
So
the next.
there's
Well,
our
that's true, and we,
I've got
actually, we
quite a
are,
bit, so I'll let you go
there is
first,
a,
and I'll get into the budget.
I know there's a big Tesla charging station in Centralia. There's also a couple of other level 3 chargers. And the next one you're gonna hit is gonna be Tacoma
Right.
or Auburn. So if somebody is driving on the back roads, I mean, it's a reasonable place to put them. Can't tell, might even break some business in.
Okay, any other questions for Bill? Okay, Tammy?
Just two quick things. We had excuse me. I think George sent them our way. Somebody is interested in renting the church for a Sunday service. The gentleman came over, grabbed the key, and went and looked at the church, and he was quite pleased with it, and he was going to send his pastor to discuss rental agreements and such. And I have not heard from the pastor, so I don't know if it's been put off, but it's potential revenue for the church. So I thought that was great news. And then I did reach out to our 62nd Medical Brigade about possibly having them do like the improvements that we wanted to do to Wilkowski Park for the camping. And I have not heard back from him. So I actually didn't hear from him about council either. So do you know something?
No, but I was gonna say, I've been kind of approached by a couple of Eagle Scouts looking for projects. I don't know if that might be something you want to talk to the scouts about and see if,
You can send them my way.
okay.
And if you talk to Rich, you can also let him know that I had emailed him from the 62nd Medical Brigade.
Okay.
Anyways, that's all I have.
I have a question.
Yes,
You reference renting the church out
yes,
for services.
yes.
I think we need to decide what's our primary business. Is it gonna be weddings, or is it gonna be church services? And what do we do if there's a conflict? If somebody wants to get married, at the same time they wanna have church service, who takes precedence? Because it's bound to happen.
I don't know the answer to that. I would assume that it wouldn't be a conflict because most weddings are on Saturdays and church is on Sunday. However, I guess we could maybe put a clause in there that we could ask the congregation if there's a wedding scheduled that maybe they could start late, leave early. I don't know. Meet Monday.
Normally your churches start early anyhow, so about 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock, so they're usually done by noon. So weddings and stuff usually take place in the afternoon, so I don't think it would be an issue.
We could probably, we have the rental agreement that we had from before the church was remodeled. And so Bill sent that to me so that we can kind of tweak it because it's old. It was from 2013. And so we could talk about how we want to put that in there. If there was an instance that that did happen, what happens?
I think
I think the way that was written kind of contemplated a day's rental for,
Yes.
whatever it is. So if, somebody wants to do a wedding or something, we got to put some kind of contingency in it.
Yeah.
If it comes to them wanting to, if they get back to us and we end up going in the process of writing up a contract, we'll make sure we talk about that.
I think it'd be great, to have more utilization, especially if they're gonna pay us money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, I can see a possible conflict.
Any other questions for Tammy?
Well, since I wasn't on the council when the whole church thing came up, what was your primary goal for the church? Because that's a lot of wear and tear on the church, and you guys spent a lot of money renovating it. So what was the primary goal when you renovated the church? What were you hoping to get out of that?
To have it used.
By
I mean, I think that was basically it. We had hoped that, yeah, it would be used for a whole bunch of different things. I think that's what we decided on, wasn't it?
I think it was primarily
Weddings.
hoping to have weddings or recommittals or, those kinds of things. Not really to turn it into a church. We did that once before and it did not work out well.
And we may have to be, we may have to retweak that vision. I mean, we got a nice facility and we get a lot of great comments, and I think we're all happy with what we've done, but we may have to have a new vision now that we're coming out of COVID and see, and I do know there was discussion when we did all the work and about weddings that I know there was a couple council members and staff that were concerned that people just don't get married in churches anymore, and that we were going to do all that work is how I remember it. But we did have to understand that, we may not be filling it up every weekend all summer long for weddings, because that's just not the way it is nowadays. So, next summer will be our first real time to see if we get some use out of it. So for right now, I think if we could get it rented and get some money, and I think the next thing is let's just wait and see if he gets back to us, and if he gets back to us, we'll come with more information. Any other questions for Tammy? Thank you, Tammy. Okay, save the winded person for last. I've got quite a few things to go over. So Jim Gibson and I met with Bill Halverson. They've done all the test holes for the nitrogen testing, and we have 6 pits done, and then they used a 7th one, correct? 5, and then we used a 6th one. Okay. No, really, only one of them were they able to find any water in. Fast forward where we're at, after the meeting, we decided that Jim is going to put together a letter, and we're going to send it off to Thurston County and tell them that we've done our studies, and request a meeting with them and show them what we've had and put the ball back in their court. You want to get more technical than what I just said, Mr. Gibson?
I think that very well covers it. We're going to get the report from Bill Howard. We're going to put a city cover letter on, forward the report on to the county, so they can see the same data we do, and with a request to roll back to the original policies we had.
And we're prepared. They may ask us to do some more testing once we get rainwater, but Bill does not believe anything that the county is saying. We have pretty good proof to show that we can rebuttal what they're saying.
The original numbers they were pushing on us, they thought we had like 10, the number's 10 milligrams per liter. We're seeing 2.5. That's the range of what we're seeing.
So, best case scenario, they accept it. We're prepared that they're going to say they want some more work. We're still under budget in the project. Just remember, you guys gave us money. The whole process was, if we have any hope to getting more than 2 plats done, we need to get some answers about our groundwater. So that's the update there. Any questions for Jim or I on that? Okay. Tammy and I and Ron are meeting Thursday, and we're going to talk about the open position that we have at Public Works, and decide what we're going to do in that position, and probably get that posted here sometime in December. As you noticed, the parking lot, 3 vehicles over there. We sent that out to bid. RGD was the low bid from everything we talked about at the last council, and we've got separate bids, so we fall under everything that makes Tammy's life easy.
We hope.
And
we'll see come audit time.
I told you that was a rough number from the original bid we had. It's a solid number now. It did go up a little bit, but it's going to be about 175 totally over and done with now. It was about 150 when we spoke at the retreat. Ron, you can give, I know you don't feel good, but can you give a quick overview of the smart part of it? Had to do with the deep
drainage. I told the mayor and Rainier General and everyone else that was looking at this thing, we have to make sure we take care of the drainage issue right there for that property. And the way to do that is what's being planned right right now, and what will be installed is a storm bioswale that's gonna come in, but it's shallow enough, we don't have to fence it. It'll go basically out here, if you look at the little stakes they got, it's gonna go right there where that little temporary driveway that they've been cutting in and out, it'll go right in there, that'll also stop that. Everything's gonna go to that. So the crushed rock, everything will drain to this. It's gonna end up being a great addition as far as parking goes. You've got a good spot for the semis to park. You've got a great spot for the trail users that come in with their horse trailers and whatnot, and as well as the parking lot itself. So I think it's a great addition myself.
So that had to do with a little bit more of the added cost, and they have to dig deeper because they couldn't, it's actually got good soil over there, right?
There's actually, what was expected was in that area, you go just past where the gravel is now. We expected to find 8-10 inches of black topsoil like everywhere else around town. Instead, there's about 2 foot. So they done some test pits, so they gotta remove that. You can't pave over that, so they've gotta remove that, take that down. That's part of that additional cost.
Yeah.
So it's all legit.
So they'll, like I said, he moved in the equipment the last 2 days. It's over there right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they start moving some dirt around and doing some things here tomorrow or Thursday. Remember our next meeting, we do have a second meeting in November, and then we'll have our first meeting in December with still the goal that we can approve the budget at that time. And we've given you a preliminary budget that's in front of you. This is Tammy and my third year working on this together. And I should say Tammy does all the work, and she runs things and tells me about them, and then I speak about them. But, we get most everything done in the retreats, and we had a very productive retreat again this year. So basically, when we've done the budget, we roll everything over from the previous year and put a 5% increase on all of our budgets, expenditures on Ron's end and Tammy's end. The things that you'll see in there is the Parks Fund has been $100,000 for the last 3 years since Tammy and I have been doing this. And you'll see it at $350 because the $250 needs to be in there for the sports complex that we would get back from Thurston County that we talked about at the retreat. So that's why somebody'd say, why is it $350 when you guys have usually put $100,000 into it? We haven't at all. We had no discussion at the retreat regarding sewer. We decided to just roll over the $68,000 that we put in the sewer budget the last couple of years. Originally it was put in there to maybe find the property down on the other end of town and drill some test holes that John was really wanting us to do. We haven't got anywhere with that purchase of that property, but that is the budget that we've been using the money to pay Bill Halverson for the nitro testing. So we just thought we'd roll that over. We will have a sheriff car. We talked about this at the retreat, but that will not come out of this year's budget. So there will be budget in there for the sheriff car. And the only other one, any questions on any of that so far? I may see if Tammy, besides that, I'll talk on facilities here in a couple minutes. Yeah. Anything else on the budget that you want to share that I missed?
No, nothing that you missed. Just that is a very chicken scratch preliminary budget because honestly, I haven't had time to do much with it so far. My focus was the levy certification because it has to be done before the end of November. So I needed it to happen at this meeting. So my focus was that. So just know that those are very temporary. Ron gave me his additions and I plugged his numbers in, and a few of these that Bob just hit on, I plugged in. But a lot of the other stuff I haven't plugged in, like, wages and utilities for my stuff here, so it's not set. I just wanted you to know it's not set. Yes.
What are you doing for COLA, Mr.?
Well, that was the next thing. I was getting to it, so I will. Okay, any questions so far? So, my recommendation, and it is in the budget there. Tammy's already put the numbers in, so this is 4% COLA for all. At this present time, we have 5 employees. 4% COLA for the 5 employees, which is pretty consistent with what I shared with you that I get from my fellow mayors around. And then we have some additional
Incentive.
performance from their
Evaluations.
Their evaluations. We have some potential or some additional 2% and additional 4% for their employee evaluations. So the whole number there, the change would be $16,787.80 annually is what is in the budget right now, which comes down to $1,398.98 more a month, including the bonus or the incentive, performance incentives, and the COLA, all across the board. Did I give the numbers correct?
You did. I'm not sure it was easy to understand. So basically, everybody gets 4%,
That's the COLA.
and then department heads get additional 4% for a total of 8%. And then the staff gets additional 2% for a total of 6%.
And that's a couple of years ago, we put together evaluation forms for this reason. Council wanted that the first year I took over as the mayor, and be able to have information to be able to give performance incentives.
What's going to determine the evaluation itself? What's the evaluation going to be? How is that? Is that going to be a form that you're going to have?
We
is
have,
that going to be your opinion or?
No, we have supervisors. These two do 6-month evaluations on their employees. I do 6 months evaluation on both of these two.
My question still remains is how is that performed? Do you have a form you work off of, or do you just sit in your chair and ask questions?
No, we have a form that it's filed, and I sign all of them. These two do it on their workers below them, and then I sign off on it. Sometimes I sit in the meetings when they meet with their employees, and then I meet with each of these individually and do their evaluation. So.
Yeah, I'm all for, incentives, and I'm all for taking care of our employees, but those are pretty hefty raises at the end of the year, 8%. Nobody gets an 8% increase. In all fairness and honesty, and believe me, I want to take care of these people. I think they're terribly underpaid to begin with, a lot of them. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Dennis, am I wrong on that?
Well, I can think of someone I thought was being overpaid for what we were getting in return. I'll keep that to myself.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
This was my recommendation. This is why we have the meeting tonight, is I'm sharing with you what is in the budget. That's just.
And I would feel good about it.
You guys have to approve the budget. Here's what I did. We didn't do any, the last 2 years, all we've done is given COLA to every employee.
I think the incentive's great. I just don't want to see that turn into a blanket 4%, 2%.
I came up with that value. So this is me. This is neither one of these two.
Right.
I actually had to. I'm going back to 2 years ago when I wanted to do this, and the employees all thought they didn't feel like they should get incentive more than other employees. I disagree with that. I think supervisors have more authority and they have more responsibilities, and I think that it should be, and I think that is the case in most work areas, that people may get a raise, but supervisors may get a little bit more because they have higher responsibility. So that's kind of why my suggestion was, not, otherwise maybe everybody got a different number. And that's me sitting in this seat.
I think given the state of the economy and inflation and what all is going on, and the fact that the feds are raising to try and match that, VA is doing that, the military is doing that. I think that's a good move at this time. I don't know if we want to do it every year, but at this time, I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying.
We're having a discussion. That's fine. Ron, you have any input for me?
No, basically, I think that this year I'm fine with that because of the inflation rate. Maybe next year it might be different, but as far as this year goes, I'm fine with that.
Tom?
I agree. I definitely think we need to help.
Okay.
And being in management for 37 years, I'd be fully with you as far as supervisor, especially in this day and age. I mean, there's a lot more responsibility on the supervisors and the workers. And a lot of time it's a good incentive for the workers to work harder, to know that, they have.
Okay. Marie?
No, I think it's fine. I think in this day and age, I think retention is a big thing. I think when you find people losing workers and you can't replace them. So I think if we have the good workers that we have, we need to be able to retain them.
I agree.
Okay. And I just, you've kind of questioned, this is not a precedent set. The way it is right now, we always give a COLA, and that's why I have the evaluation. So what comes, last year I didn't ask or didn't suggest individual incentives, and we don't need to go into why I didn't do that. Okay. This year, the way my evaluations are, this is well-deserved, and I appreciate the council being supportive of that. So, we're okay, we won't change those numbers at all. Okay. One other thing that we didn't talk about the retreat, and the three of us talked about today, we thought about maybe adding some money into the facilities. We have a facilities budget. We are going to need to put a new roof on the city hall. And so Ron's in the midst of getting some prices on that. But we've always had $16,000 in the facilities budget. But the other thing, and I don't know how, most of you have been up to Public Works, but we've just got a lot of trailers. I think we could use some additional covered parking up there. So I want to run by you guys. The big building that you come in and where we park the sander, the big trucks, all the rigs park at night. That, when we originally built that building, when Randy was the mayor, and I was a council member with a couple of you, we built that building with the intention that we could add on to it. We have already got a truss that comes off ready to add on. So, I'd like to be able to look into maybe getting some prices to adding on to that building. As you come up the hill, you come into our facility, it's the building right to your right, adding on and going back. Right now, we just park all of we got 3 trailers that we carry the lawnmowers in. We got a car trailer and we got a dump trailer. We got 4 or 5 trailers that just sit outside all winter long. And so I talked, the 3 of us kind of all agree that if we could get a price and maybe put some money into the facilities budget. We have no idea. We think it could be, fairly reasonable. Ron threw at 40,000 at me. We may have to move the power pole comes in from PSE. So one of the major expense may be moving the power pole that's on that end of the building. But my vision would be to you'd add on, connect to the existing end, enclose it on the back side, which would be looking over the Minnesota Hill, because that's where the weather comes in most of the time, and put a third side on it, and then just leave. Don't put the doors, don't put the cost of putting all that on, just have it open and gravel it right now, not put the concrete in there, and then we'd have more undercover storage to get trailers into. So I see some of you nodding your heads that,
Yeah, I'm good.
and everything we do, I'll give you prices ahead of time. So if Tammy and I can find some ways to still fit in the budget, next meeting, we may have a higher value on the facilities. That's the only thing that I see changing.
While you're looking at that, I'd like to have you guys take a good hard look at what was originally planned for that building and then somehow got half-assed instead. And that was to build a loft on the end by the gate where you come in. So you could have elevated storage for small stuff and get it off the floor, which would give you more floor storage.
Inside the building,
Inside, yeah.
it does have a loft.
No, no, instead of putting the loft that was agreed on and intended, somehow we wound up with this thing.
Oh, okay.
And that needs to be relooked at and reconsidered. Purposely, when the building was built, they put a window up in that end of it, so you would have light in on the loft when it was put in.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Anything else? You want to add anything to what I just went over?
No, you did.
Ron, you okay on the budget since I'm kind of speaking for all of us? Okay, so sewer, parks, facilities. Okay. That was earlier. Okay, thank you for letting me get through that. We'll have a much better looking finalized budget at next meeting. We'll go to new business. Interlocal agreement. Tammy.
So this is exactly like it has been in the past years for the district court. We contract with Thurston County District Court. There's no change, it's just time to renew. And Bill tells me that we just have to have your okay to do so. So I included it in your packet, but I compared the previous one to this one and there are no changes except for the dates.
I move that we accept, approve the interlocal agreement.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the interlocal agreement establishing district court filing and jury fees. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. Thank you, council. I'm gonna sign it. We'll now move on to ordinance 713 and 714, renaming the parks and public facilities. So, Bill, take over, please.
Okay. At the last meeting, we discussed the renaming of the park in county estates, and Councilman and Jay asked if there's some procedures we should follow, and I said I didn't have a clue. So, there is no state statute that covers this, but a number of cities have procedures for doing it. And as I was looking through our ordinances, I found that we had established a procedure. And that had been done back in like 2002 or something. But then I found that it had been repealed. And that didn't quite make any sense to me because it was repealed while I was here and I didn't remember this at all. And so I looked at the ordinance and repealed it. And apparently, somebody made a typographical error at some point. And the ordinance that repealed it was the one that kind of set up the system for the mayor to do a policy and procedures manual for the internal employees. And I had written an ordinance that kind of got rid of all little inconsistent parts and things that went along with this. And so I didn't understand how repealing this ordinance had anything to do with it. Well, it didn't. And so that causes a problem. When you pass an ordinance, it has to be a single subject. Now, that would be a big subject, but it has to be a single one. So that would mean that the attempt to repeal the park naming business would be invalid because it wasn't even described in the title, although the ordinance was, or at least the chapter was. So, if you wish to keep that procedure, I've amended it so it names the planning commission as the agency that kind of looks over this, because we don't have a park board, never have had one, even though we had an ordinance that established it. So that's the ordinance that you have in front of you. You're under no obligation to pass that. If you don't want to pass it, then we have another 713 over here, which just repeals the whole thing. And then you go out naming the park any way you want to. But courts look at this a little differently. And they will tend to say that, well, whatever was in the ordinance is invalid because you had two subjects and then you weren't supposed to. So we need to readopt the business for the administrative procedure. So that's what ordinance 714 does. And you should pass that. And the last one is ordinance 715. That gets rid of the Civil Service Commission because we don't need it, and that's what was intended in the first place. And it also gets rid of the park board since we've never had one. So, if anybody's got any questions after that explanation, I can understand.
I have a couple.
Okay.
And the first one, and it deals with 713, and one provision that I
Okay.
extended, where in 2.18050, the restriction on certain naming proposals, I don't quite understand why we have to have a 6-month waiting period for the planning commission to take action on the subject. That seems like,
Well, that is limited to something that you're going to name a park after somebody who's died or some event that has happened within the last year prior to your naming. Kind of a cooling off period to see if you really wanted to name it after so-and-so or whatever. So that it is limited to that particular situation. It wouldn't be limited in this particular case.
okay,
Okay?
well, that kind of clears it up, I guess. And then the second part was in the next paragraph there, where it says the planning commission is responsible for getting appropriate signing. The planning commission doesn't really have a budget. So do we need to clarify that to make sure that people understand that the planning commission would say, this is what we want the sign to say, and then city staff or public works takes over and actually gets the signs and get them in place?
If you want to do that. Other than to change planning commission in place of park board, I really didn't do anything with this.
Okay.
Because I didn't know why it was passed or what anybody's intention was for doing it.
Well, I just threw those two questions out. I don't know what the rest of the council thinks, or if they've looked at this or thought about it. So you're saying that the 6-month waiting period has nothing to do with, like, the topic we're specifically talking about?
Correct, right.
This is only like if Abraham Lincoln passed through here tomorrow and died on the way through town, and we're gonna rename Gerke after him, then we wanna wait 6 months. Okay, that makes more sense.
Or if you pick a name or something that happened very recently, then it would apply.
Okay.
But you could just repeal the whole damn thing if you want. Then you can do whatever you want.
Well, I'd like to see some kind of policy. But
See, I don't have no idea what propelled this in the first place, long before my time.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Maybe not that long, but
I don't remember all this either.
Ron, you got any questions? Tom?
No.
George? Maureen?
No.
Dennis, you got any more questions?
No, I'm just wondering, do we want to keep it like this or do we want to clarify it? But it sounds like Bill has clarified .050.
So what happens if we pass all three of these ordinances tonight? How do we name a park?
well, that depends. If you pass this one the way they have it,
Mhm.
then you go through this procedure here.
In 13.
Right. If you give them the one that I cooked
Right.
up and gave
Plan
you
B.
early, whatever they want to do, they can do anything they want.
So I guess the council makes a decision if they want to do anything they want.
We like that.
You like
That's what I
that?
prefer.
You like that?
Yeah.
Dennis?
Regarding naming parks.
Right,
Just do whatever you want?
I'm naming the park.
Well,
Well, we're not always going to be on the council, so we might not want to give them too much freedom.
yeah, I would like that if somebody has a proposal to name a park after somebody or something, that there should be somebody that they go to and say, hey, I'd like to do this.
Okay.
And then somebody makes a decision. I don't care if it's the planning commission or if it's the council.
Okay.
Actually, I kind of prefer it would be the council.
Well, that's the reason I thought we just gave everything to the council is because basically it takes at least 3 of 5 to name the name. So it's got a check and a balance built in with the procedures.
Well, looks like I need to rewrite it. Okay. That okay with everybody?
Yeah.
That's fine, okay.
And we would,
Pass over 713, let's go to 714.
and it would, we would write it to say what?
Oh, the council was gonna do it, which is fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Joe Blow wants to name a park and comes,
He comes in
To
and
the
he
council?
gives it to the clerk, and the clerk puts it on the agenda, and, yeah.
okay?
We haven't had to name a park, as far as I know, since I've been on council.
No,
But this needs to be discussed because we are gonna have the sport court next year. That has no name. That's gonna be the first thing that you 5 are gonna, because we're all on the council next year. That's the first one you're gonna be tackled with.
the last park we named was Holiday Park,
Where's that?
right across the street next to.
With a little gazebo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So which one do we need to, what do they need to do, Bill?
Well, we just need to go on to 714.
okay.
And we need to pass it.
You need to pass that one.
Okay, I move that we, okay,
You know which ones I'm saying.
ordinance 714.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to pass ordinance 714, administration procedures reenacting ordinance 589. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. Thank you, council.
Now we need to pass ordinance 715 to get rid of the civil service connection that we don't need, and the park board is over there.
Move to approve ordinance 715.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to pass ordinance 715. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 5-0. Again, thank you very much, council.
Okay, so question for Bill. This goes into effect immediately, or is this one of those you gotta wait 30 days?
It's okay. Well, after she sends it to publication, I need to talk to her about whether we need to send it off to the council, because it may not make any sense to.
Okay. So in order to do what that brought all of this about, we need to wait till sometime in December or January.
Well, you really don't have to wait. I mean, it's not, you know. As far as the park naming thing, yeah, we have to wait a bit about that because we haven't decided exactly what we're gonna do yet.
It's past 713.
So,
So your subject will be scratched from the
Right.
agenda.
but the rest of it, you know, it really doesn't make any difference. I mean, it's one of those, this is a housekeeping measure, tidy things up.
Well, the reason I asked is because my neighbors keep bugging me.
Okay. Well, tell them to send a suggestion to the city clerk if I'm working. Or give it to you, or you give it to the city clerk.
So we're not doing this one that is in their packet, 713.
That one's not done.
Okay,
That's next, that's next.
and Plan B is not happening
We're not gonna
either.
do that one either.
Okay, got it.
We'll do it 2 weeks,
Huh? Well, 2 weeks, yeah, I should be able to have it done next meeting.
Okay.
next meeting.
So, and we're skipping now old business. Is that right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
And it says the old business, which was the name of the country estate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now
okay.
That's why Dennis was asking you all those questions.
Next time.
You didn't see it's right there.
Next time.
Yeah, so that will get moved on to the next meeting. Okay, remember our next meeting is the fourth Tuesday, 9 o'clock in November. We haven't had a fourth meeting, second meeting of the month in a long time. So,
That's the 22nd.
What time?
5 p.m.
I said 9.
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense to me, now I understand what I can tell my neighbors and get them off.
Move to adjourn.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Meeting officially adjourned, 6:01 p.m. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff.